Okay, so the question asked is, what is a log? Okay, so if you're at the point where you're asking what is a log, then you're probably familiar with exponents, such as 3 to the second power equals 9. So what that means is 3 gets multiplied by itself 2 times. 3 times 3. What's 3 times 3? It's 9. So this is just a quick way of writing multiplication. Well, what if you want to know how many times 3 needs to be multiplied by itself in order to get 9? Then you would use a logarithm. So, for example, you would have log base 3 of 9 equals 2. So notice this base becomes smaller and it becomes a subscript. And then these two switch places. It was yellow and red, now it's red and yellow. So this is the base, this is the exponent. This oftentimes doesn't really have a name, but a math friend of mine said she thought it was called the argument, and I like to give things names because it helps me remember it. So you don't have to memorize this, but if it helps you, you can be like me and call it the argument. So it was base exponent argument, but now it's base argument exponent. These two just switch places. Okay, so log base 3 of 9, and then usually you'd say, well, what is that? It equals 2. So you could think to yourself, 3 times 3 is 9, and if that wasn't the correct number here, then you could say 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 81. Like, you could just keep asking yourself that. But there is a quicker way, which I'll show you in a moment. All right, so another example is 2 raised to the 4th power is 16. So that's 2 multiplied by itself 4 times. In other words, that's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And that equals 16. So 2 is our base, 4 is our exponent, 16 is our argument. So how would this be written in logarithmic form? It would be log base 2 of 16 equals 4. So the base becomes small and it gets low down, and then the exponent and the argument switch places. The exponent's no longer small and high up as a superscript. It becomes regular size and on the same line as the 16 and the log. Okay, so here is a problem that we had questions about. And since we're talking about what is log, I thought we'd go ahead and talk about this now. Okay, so we have log base 2 of 8 plus log base 3 of 27 divided by log base 4 of 16. So because we just got through talking about what a log is, I invite you to think to yourself, how many times do you need to multiply 2 by itself in order for it to equal 8? How many times do you have to multiply 3 by itself in order to get 27? And how many times do you have to multiply 4 by itself to get 16? But for taking the ACT test, there is the change of base formula. So doing what I just suggested now will help you remember what a logarithm is. But for actually taking the ACT test, there's a thing called the change of base formula, which will be your quick way of figuring it out. So if we just focus on log base 2 of 8, the way I often tell students to think about it is the 2 is already kind of lower down. So I pretend that the 2 go ahead, like I pretend this is on its way to hell, and the 2 keeps on going down to hell, and it goes down into the denominator, and then the 8 floats up into heaven. And what I mean by that is we get a numerator and a denominator. And both times the log is base 10, which is what your calculator uses. So log of 8 divided by log of 2. One floats down, the other floats up. Log of 27 over log of 3, and log of 16 over log of 4. So each time you put that into your calculator, you'll get a simple number. In this case, it is 3 plus 3 over 2. So 3 plus 3 is 6, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay, you can comment or contact me if you have any questions.